What kind of threads do we need? Well, I use different threads for different things. The first thing you're going to do once you finish piecing flying high is stabilize the quilt in preparation for quilting. What do I mean by stabilize? A lot of people refer to it as stitch in the ditch. We're going to do some stitch in the ditch strategically and some top stitching that will act as quilt stabilization. And I use very specific threads for both of those techniques. Let's look at some of those threads right now. I'm going to switch to my table. So these are some of the threads that we're going to use for stitching flying high. Now, do you have to use all of these threads? No, of course not. You can use, and I do recommend using 60 weight thread. This is a 60 weight bottom line thread. Let's take a look. It's called bottom line, and it's 60 weight. And I specifically use this number 623. It works well for both light, medium, and dark fabric. Well, that's 3, so it works well for 3 different things, not both. Now, why do I like to use this thread weight and number or color? It's because it's thin. Once you stitch in the ditch, this is going to just melt right into the seam. It's going to disappear. You will not see it. 60 weight for stitching the ditch is fantastic. A lot of ladies use it also for piecing. So we're going to use that. And then I have a host of 40 weight threads that I love. Different brands. These 3 are the same brand. This is by Coats and Clark. It's often used for machine embroidery, but I also use it for quilting. What about color choices? You're going to take the thread and put it on top of your flying high quilt and decide, what threads do I want to use? Do I want high contrast, medium contrast, or do I want all the threads to blend? That's going to be your choice. My background color is gray. And since it is gray, I decided to use similar values but different colors. So these have a similar value, not the black, have a similar value to the gray, but they just add color. And of course, the sheen, this is a shiny thread, also adds texture. I also use this one. It's a little bit darker, but it's still orange, and it makes a difference on the gray. And I also added some green, a little bit darker. So we do need some lighter threads, some medium threads, and then some darker threads. When we do that, we add depth to the quilting. If it's all monotone, one color value, it can look very flat, and we don't want that. What needle do I like to use? I like to use Superior Threads top stitch needles. This is an 80-12 that I would use with piecing. For these threads, I'm going to use their 90-14 top stitch needle. Love this. The needle eye is long. It's perfect for fast action, fast stitching. So that's what we're going to use there. For the bottom line thread that's 60 weight, I will still use the top stitch needle, but instead of a 90-14, which is what I use here, I will use a 70-10 needle. The black thread, this is for the silhouette that you're going to stitch. You decide whether you want all the silhouette to be in black. And again, this is another 40 weight thread. This is Isocord. So I use Isocord. I use Glide. This is Glide. This is another Isocord thread. And then this is the Coats and Clark. And the Coats and Clark, let's see if we can read what's on here. I'll hold it up for you. Hopefully you can read some of that. It's Coats and Clark, and it's called, I think it's the Trilobal thread. Trilobal. This is the glide, and this number, if you're interested in this color, I can show that to you as well. Hopefully you can read that. And then these are the isocord threads. So this is the isocord. All right. So you can get these online at many quilt shops. And there is a thread place that I do order from sometimes. Of course, I order from Superior Threads, but I also order from Red Rock. I think it's called Red Rock. All right, now that we've gone over the thread, what else do we need to talk about? Let's talk about batting. What are your batting choices? That's going to be determined by what final look you want. Do you want some texture? Are you going to use 2 layers of batting or 1 layer of batting? What type of batting? Are you going to use a stiff batting because you're going to hang it on the wall? You don't need drape for it to flow. That is all up to you. The other thing you want to consider is how dense you're going to quilt it. My Flying High has a lot of thread, and that's what I wanted. I wanted lots of color and random serpentine lines. Do you want to take a closer look at it? Let's take a closer look so we can talk about thread density, batting choices. I'll lay her down here and then we can look at her with the overhead camera. Let me move in. All right, so here she is. Color choices, thread choices, batting choices. She is pretty thin, 1 layer of cotton batting. That's what I decided. Also, 1 layer of batting here. In the past, when I have quilted this specific silhouette, I have used 2 layers, and 2 layers was to help the hair puff up a little bit. That's another design choice, right? Look at the amount of thread. Let's see if I can hold this up. That I used for the serpentine stitching. Lots of thread, different colors, right? I love all the texture. We're going to go through it step by step. At any point in stitching out the background of Flying High, you can decide this is enough. I don't need to stitch anymore. I have enough wavy lines for what I want to accomplish as the artist. We are all individual artists. I want you to stitch what you want to stitch. The same thing goes with the hair. I decided I wanted to stitch echoed lines because we're stitching with the STITCHLINE tool. So the whole basis of stitching this was to use the STITCHLINE ruler quilting tool, but it didn't mean I couldn't add any free motion quilting, which I did. Some free motion quilting here and some free motion to stabilize and quilt along the perimeter of the silhouette. So in 2 cases, we are stitching with a free motion quilting foot, but most of it is ruler quilting with the STITCHLINE tool. I recommend if you are new to free motion, new to ruler quilting, and new to the STITCHLINE ruler quilting tool, use 1 layer of batting. Whenever you incorporate 2 layers of batting, it gets thicker and it can be challenging to stitch. All right? Now let's look at the STITCHLINE tool. Let's put her back up here on display. All right, we've talked about the thread. And we've talked about needles. So this is the STITCHLINE tool. And hopefully you have gone through the series of videos that I put together that are connected to this QR code. If you have not scanned this QR code, please do. scan the QR code. There's a series of videos that talk about these arrows, these dots. Just scan the QR code. There are 3 free designs as well. So I also talk about not only those dots, but also another product that I like to use that's called Grippy to help the ruler grip the fabric as you're quilting. So after you've gone through those videos and your machine is set up for ruler quilting, when you start stitching the design and you're watching the videos that I'm going to show you how to use the edge of the ruler, how to use the serpentine line, different things. And I'm going to use and talk about the reference lines on the ruler. This is key and critical. Another reason why you want to go through the videos connected to the QR code, because I have a brief overview of some of those things. If you do that, then you'll be ready when it comes time to quilt flying high, because we're going to use some of these reference lines for precision stitching, especially when it comes to echo quilting. Okay, so let's go over some of the things that I'll talk about. One is channel quilting. We're going to use this channel to stabilize the quilt, to stitch in the ditch. If we want to stitch in this ditch using the channel part of the ruler, there is a line right here that goes right through the center of this channel. This is the line that we're going to use to position the needle in the ditch. So once I come to a seam that I want to stitch in the ditch, I'm taking this line and I'm putting it right next to that. Why don't we come in closer? I think we need to zoom in here. Let's zoom in, come over here. I think that's much better. Zoom in real tight. So there is the line right there. That's going right through the middle of this channel. This is where your ruler foot is going to sit, right inside here. And you know that when your ruler foot is attached to your machine and your needle's in the center of that ruler foot, the needle is going to stitch a 1/4 inch away. So once we move this into position, we know that the needle is going to stitch right in that spot that's lined up with this reference line, right along here. So one of the things that you're going to do is first get this in position. Now, one way to check that you are in the right place is to use the other reference lines with the seams. So right here is another seam, right? I have reference lines on my ruler that I can line up and say, okay, is this reference line lining up with the seam? Maybe my arrow is hiding that a little bit. Let's remove that so you can see. All right, I'll move that there. So here's another reference line. Let me move it up so you can see that it is there. There it is. Once I pull this down, I know that this line is going to be straight and perpendicular to the quilt. Right here, it's right on the seam. So I have 2 ways of checking that my ditch is straight. Now, if my seams aren't straight, that's another challenge, right? So if that happens, like right here, my seams are not lined up. Not very good piecing, is it? So if I start stitching down here and I need to move over, I'm going to stop right there and then shift this over that direction to get it lined up again, right? That's what we're going to do. Stitch, move the needle over to that position, and then start stitching in the ditch again. All right, we need to do that sometimes when our piecing isn't so good. Okay. And I think that happens to all of us, right? So anyway, that is what stitch in the ditch is. Can we use this side of the ruler for stitching the ditch? We sure can. We can use what I call the tabs. This tab is a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the ruler. Once the foot is here and this tab is lined up with the seam, I can stitch right inside that. By using the channel, however, it helps the ruler foot from going off into another area. It's locked in. So that's why I like to use the channel for stitch in the ditch. You can use both. You're going to see a demo, the tutorial with stitch in the ditch in the channel. That's what I've decided to show you. Okay, so what else are you going to need to know about this ruler? Let's look at the curvy side. The curvy side of the ruler also has reference lines, and we're going to use them. Mainly, we're going to use not only these vertical reference lines, again, for placement. If I want the curve to be consistent, let me pull out here so you can see a little bit more. If I want the curve to be consistent across the quilt, I'm going to look at this line right here and make sure that it's following a seam. I want my curves, my wavy lines, to be perpendicular. That's my decision, and once I make that decision, that's what I'm going to do. But if I decide I want them on an angle, I really don't have any reference lines that I can use to make sure that the angle is consistent across the quilt. The only way to do that is to mark it. I'm not going to take time to do that. If you want to, you certainly are welcome. If you decide that you want your wavy lines to be at an angle, you will need to mark that angle on your quilt and then do so like every couple of inches to make sure that you are repeating that same angle, that the angle isn't drifting off into another angle, okay? So not only are we going to use these vertical lines, we're also going to use, let me zoom in. We're going to use these horizontal stitch lines. I call them, I shouldn't say stitch lines, they're more like needle position lines.